James Gunn's Superman is finally out. The beginning of the new DCU universe theatrically, written and directed by James Gunn. We've been talking about this one for a while now. There's a lot riding on this movie. It has to be successful because all of the constant behind the scenes turmoil at Warner Brothers, all of the reboots and the changes, and they bring Snyder in, then they get rid of him, then they bring him back, and then they don't want to follow that canon, and all that stuff, I think has turned off a lot of people to getting into DC. But with this movie, the whole sort of importance behind it is that we're now in a new universe that James Gunn is crafting. I will not be going into any spoilers on this video, but I may come back with a spoiler review tomorrow or in a couple days. So this is the first movie in the new DC universe, and because of that, we've got new actors. So the new man donning the cape, David Corenswet, he is Clark Kent Superman. Now, the thing that made Christopher Reeves such an incredible performer in this role was more so how he played Clark Kent than how he played Superman. I really love how, the innocence of Christopher Reeve, the clumsiness. Superman's not really clumsy. And I think that David Corenswet really, really tried to capture that more than Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill looks like a superhero. He's jacked. He's the most comic accurate Superman as far as physicality goes, but his Clark Kent, I thought, left much to be desired. Here we're getting a little bit more, and I liked the Corenswet's performance, but I did feel like I wanted more from Clark Kent. Rachel Brosnahan is Lois Lane. The good thing is that the main concern I have with this movie is, are they going to get the characters right? And I'm happy to tell you that they did. Now, not everyone's going to like this movie, and I'm going to tell you, give you what's going on without spoiling it. I'm going to tell you whether or not I think you would like it based on certain factors. But the good news is that Lois and Clark, I think, do have a great amount of chemistry in this, and I think they're well cast. Then we have Nicholas Hoult, who's known as playing the younger Beast Hank McCoy in the X-Men movies over in the Fox universe. He comes here to play Lex Luthor. This character was very interesting because in some ways he goes from being a very basic, I guess you can say just a very calm, methodical, genius villain to losing his mind and becoming a cartoon character. And in some ways that kind of does represent Luthor. He does look like Luthor. I still think that Clancy Brown's performance from the animated series, I think, really captured that deep Clancy Brown voice he has for Luthor. Man, this dude is bad. But I'm happy to tell you that this Lex Luthor, nowhere near as goofy as Jesse Eisenberg, and they've never put this much heat on Lex Luthor than they did in this movie. Lex Luthor is he really, really has access to technology that is, we haven't seen anything like this in previous iterations of this character in the big screen, including Batman v Superman. The technology that Lex Luthor has actually made him more dangerous than any previous version of Lex Luthor in the theatrical sense. Now, I want to tell you something about this movie. The movie drops you right in. This movie, the first thing that really surprised me about it is that it literally just drops you right into the middle of the story. At this point, it felt like there was another movie that came before it and that we never got to see. At this point, the movie starts, Superman is already well known. Meta-humans and superheroes are already part of the world. They're all exposed. Everybody knows they exist. None of that stuff where they were hiding it. And Superman's the first one, in Man of Steel and in the Richard Donner Superman from 1978. They didn't tell us the story of Krypton like we saw in those other two movies. They didn't even go into, they talked about it, but they didn't actually show Jor-El and and have the whole prologue at the beginning of the movie. They didn't do that. You're right into a battle that Superman is having. Lex Luthor already hates Superman. He's already been planning against him for years and years. So this movie picks up in a universe. It's creating a new universe, but it picks up in a universe that's already existed. And I thought that was a very bold choice by James Gunn. Skip the origin story that everybody already knows, and instead, let's jump right in. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. There's going to be a lot of people that don't like this movie. I think most people are going to like it, and I'll tell you why. So, the Zack Snyder Superman, there were pros and cons to it. But the biggest con is that that version of Superman was way too dark. And Superman usually represents a lighter tone, more lighthearted, not like Batman. He's more of like the sun, you know, like not like the shining light, the beacon of light in the world. This film felt more in that direction. This one felt more like the Richard Donner one than the Snyder one. But there is one thing they borrowed from the Snyder one, and that is the public's, I guess you can say, strange or unusual relationship with this alien godlike character. You know, there's a part of the plot in this movie where something gets revealed to the public, and I felt like that was a little bit lazy. I'm just going to be honest. Like, everything changed after that part of the film until the very end. It didn't feel earned. It felt like they didn't truly, people, I don't know if the message from James Gunn is that people on social media are very gullible, or if the message is that people love to tear you down and build you back up again. But I felt like it wasn't really earned in this one. It really was not earned. So that to me is a con. I'm going to tell you this. This movie really, more than any other Superman, the Richard Donner, the Man of Steel, any of the adaptations with the exception of the animated series, this movie was a cartoon. This was a cartoon. I mean, they're introducing 7 or 8 superheroes and supervillains in this one. You've got Luthor having access to technology that is far and away beyond even his own understanding. You've got a little sort of plot that borrowed from Superman 3. They actually borrowed from there's aspects of every Superman movie in this movie. Like there's bits of every Superman movie. The good news is that they kept the John Williams score, or at least the jingle, the notes. It's not the same exact score from the 78 film, but it is the same theme, just played with different music and slightly remixed. And I was very happy to hear that. I'm sorry, man. No disrespect to any other composer, but John Williams' Superman score is the music that represents Superman to me and should always be his music. From now on, I don't care how many times you reboot this character. I don't care how many times you try to make a new adaptation, make them light, make them dark, whatever you want to do. You have to have a version of that theme, and I'm happy to tell you that it was in this movie. But it really is a cartoon. Some of the sequences, there are sequences in this movie that are so overloaded with CGI and there's so much going on that you get lost. There's actually at least 3 sequences where the camera is sort of panning around a situation, and there's a fight going on, and you're not sure what to look at because the camera's constantly moving. And that, to me, I felt like that took away from some of the action sequences. Now, when it comes to Superman's flying, I thought this movie did it the best. I really love how they had camera angles from behind his shoulder, in front of him, and I love how they really showed his speed, because there's one part actually early in the movie where he's flying and they show like the ice become the water very quickly because of how fast he's leaving the Fortress of Solitude to go to another continent. Like, and it's quick, and it's like that type of stuff I really enjoyed because that kind of felt like you really got to feel what it was like to be Superman, and it didn't go too like nauseating. Whereas there were some stuff that was nauseating. So if you like more grounded characters, if you're more into like the Daredevils and Batman and stuff like that, this movie might not be for you. It is a live action cartoon. And also, it does retain the James Gunn humor. If you like Guardians of the Galaxy, you like his humor, it's in this movie. There were a couple parts in this movie where I felt like James Gunn did not let the emotion play out before putting a joke in. I was worried they were going to do that for the whole movie, and thankfully they didn't. Thankfully they did not. And to me, the strength of this movie is the characters. That's the real strength. Lois, Clark, their relationship, Superman and Lex Luthor, and that arch nemesis type of vibe. It's the opposite of Lois and Superman. And, also Clark's relationship with his Earth parents, his adoptive parents, is explored. So I think they really did capture like the essence. Did they do too much? I think some people are gonna say yes. You see in the trailer, they introduce a lot of characters, and there's more that aren't even in the trailer that get introduced in the film. So James Gunn is basically plopping in all these DC characters, probably to eventually spin them off into other movies or bring them back later. But it felt even more like over the top than when they try to shoehorn the Justice League into Batman v Superman in that computer scene where you have all the logos there. Like, that was ridiculous. In this movie, at the very least, they tell you at the very beginning that the Earth is aware of metahumans. Like I said, there's no origin here. We're in the middle of the story. Like, this movie plops you in the middle of a story. There's a political issue going on between two countries. There's Superman is being questioned by different governments. That aspect is there. Luthor already hates him. Lois already has a relationship. Clark already works at Daily Planet. They don't show like him getting hired or anything. So it's just not an origin story, yo. It is not. It is plop right in. But it was a fun time. It's a good movie. I don't know about a great film. It reminded me a lot of the Suicide Squad. It's James Gunn. He's a really imaginative filmmaker. And this movie had a ton of imagination. It really was a live action comic book. If you are one of those people that wants a live action comic book, if you like the overabundance of CGI, and you like the big set pieces. I mean, this movie has buildings getting knocked over and giant monsters in the city. Like, it really did a lot in this movie. But the good news is they got the characters right. And that's the big concern. But I already have a couple friends of mine who are more into like the Captain America kind of espionage type of superhero film, who I already told them, like, I don't know if you're going to like this. But I think if you give it a chance, I enjoyed it. I really wanted to, like, totally love the movie. I didn't totally love it, but I did like it. And I may see it again when it drops on Well, I probably will see it again on HBO Max. But that's how I feel about the movie. Like, it's a strange movie because it's weird. Like, the movie's straight up weird. Some of the stuff that James Gunn took from the comics is so incredibly nerdy. Like, we're talking about like stuff that the biggest geeks are gonna go crazy over, but a more casual audience might actually get confused or might think it's too much. So it's really up to you. I think if you liked the Suicide Squad and Guardians, I think you'll like the movie. I think if you love the Lois and Clark characters, yeah, I think you'll like that. Their performances were great. Crypto was awesome in this movie. A great sidekick for Kal-El. So, yeah, that's my review for Superman. I may come back with a spoiler one very soon. If you saw it, leave in the comments what you felt about it. Take care. See you soon.